Well met, one and all, and welcome back finally, after a disgustingly long delay, to my Bloodborne playthrough. I have not been pleased that it's been so long since I've recorded an episode of this and made an upload, but things have been hectic to say the least for me lately. It all started with me taking a couple weeks off over the holidays. You know, the girlfriend was in town and this and that and the other thing, but the plan was to start up after that had occurred, and everything just went all over the place, and I'm busy this week, I'm busy that week, I'm not feeling well this week, and it's, you know, it was a huge fucking ordeal, and it was difficult enough to be able to keep up recording whatever the current main LP with Dom was, let alone find the time to record this. So I apologize to anyone who has been regularly watching for such a long delay in my uploads. If you're watching this in succession from the beginning, there's been no delay, obviously. But to those of you who were watching before, we're back now. If you forgot anything that I had talked about over the previous 7 episodes, sorry, you can rewatch them, they are on YouTube. But we are back, and we're going to be continuing through Bloodborne. All of the in-depth, all of the lore, all of that good and fun stuff. And while I've not had the time to really sit down and do this playthrough, unfortunately, I have had things to think about, things that I've been remembering, and the times when I wasn't feeling up to recording because of, you know, I've been sick a couple times or this or that, I have been playing still casually Bloodborne, so there's some things that I've been thinking about, some things I remembered that I missed. So we'll cover that real quick and talk about that before we start moving headlong here. So first and foremost, a couple of things that I thought about. First of all, I had previously mentioned, it might have been in the last part, might have been the part before or something, about how soon we're going to be sort of locked into a weapon because of not being able to reliably find the right upgrade materials to keep everything upgraded together. And really thinking about it, that's kind of half true. Because, as you know, if you've been paying attention, all of our stuff's at +3 from Bloodstone shards. And the next upgrade material is Twin Bloodstone shards. And you could get them now, because we came to Yahar Ghul early. As you see, we're still standing here. Because those guys over there, the kidnappers, they actually do have a chance to drop the Twin Bloodstone shards. I forget if it's a rare drop or an uncommon drop or something, but they do drop them. So in theory, I could grind them out and get everything I have to +6. The reason I say that I don't have a reliable farming method is because it's an uncommon drop, and I would be grinding. And I enjoy grinding as a concept. I play Monster Hunter, you know, and all that. You know, when I play Dark Souls, I grind out soft humanity in zones and all that shit. But the thing about that is, part of what I'm doing with this playthrough, kind of my aim to do with a lot of things, is some RPGs, or games similar RPGs, I maintain that you need to grind. It's just how it works, it makes the game flow better, or you might just need to, like if you play Morrowind, the first thing you should do is grind to level 10, so rats don't kill you, that kind of deal. Bloodborne, I feel, and even really the Souls games in general, because of how they're set up, honestly. In fact, you know, other Souls games you can play at level 1 all the way through. Oops. Dropped the controller there. That was embarrassing. But I don't feel the need to grind, really, unless I'm trying to get echoes to purchase something. So I don't really want to grind this level up, and I don't want to make my weapons comically overpowered too early on, because I already, you know of a fairly decent set path between the Wandering Nightmares, like the Crystal Lizard type enemy, and where items are, to have weapons at the power level, if not further, than are necessary for a lot of points in the game. And part of what I want to do is have it be a natural character progression, so to speak. So I could grind all my weapons of the +6 right now, but what I would rather do is not do that until until we have a weapon reach +6 by shards that we find in the environment and on the Wandering Nightmare enemies. So That's really behind it. So technically speaking, I could grind twin bloodstone shards by fucking up these guys, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to let it be a bit more of a progression thing. Also, I guess part of it too is RPGs where I grind is because I feel it's necessary to like really get through it. You know, some games it's not even a challenge if you don't grind up. It's not that that's the problem. It's that you can't fucking do it, reliably well. But with games like this, I like to avoid grinding if I can, because it's doable at a lower level in a way that's fair. And that's a personal preference. I know a YouTuber I watch, if you haven't heard of him, a German spy. He does some good stuff. He did Bloodborne playthrough. He did a playthrough of Bloodborne in the expansion, and he was over-leveled and ready to go for the whole thing. And it's still enjoyable. That's his style. It's my personal preference. I don't really grind when I play Bloodborne or the Souls games. But yeah, so that's why we're not going to have anything at +6 until we get there naturally. Other things I've thought about. I've been thinking about the Chalice dungeons after doing that first one in the last episode. And I've decided I'm not going to do any more Chalice dungeons in this playthrough. I was just thinking about it and thinking about how I was going to do it and where I would go, and it would break the pacing up of the game and the playthrough far too much. Like doing that first one after you get the Chalice from the Bloodstarved Beast, it kind of works, it kind of fits, it allowed me to show it off as much as I could with a comically overpowered New Game +3 character. But they're not very interesting. They feel like a chore to play through, even for someone like me who absolutely loves this game. The bosses, some of them are interesting, a lot of them aren't. A good deal of them are reused, either from other Chalice dungeons or the main game. It's not worth it. What I've decided I'm going to do is, when I get to the end of the game, before I go and do the three endings, of course, are planned to be the final episode of this playthrough, I'm going to end up doing a bit of a wrap-up, not just of the story as a whole, because we really probably won't need to if you've been watching, but more of I'm going to go over the chalices, because I have them all on a character, go over the chalices, go over stuff with the lore, maybe point out some interesting stuff for bosses, and there's one boss, the final boss of the final Thumeru dungeon, that I will at least have some footage of a fight with, if not just outright fight it, and talk about that, because that one's important and that's a good fight and a cool one. And I do want to show that. I don't feel like showing the journey to having to deal with that. So that's how I'm going to do with the Chalice dungeons. If that bothers anyone, like if people want to see it, yell at me in the comments, petition angrily, and maybe I'll put up a video or two after the playthrough of it if you really need to see all of them. But, so there's that. And so yeah, that's kind of where we stand on the reflection. Again, I apologize for the huge delay that I saw, though I guess I didn't check today before recording this. Nobody seemed to be commenting angrily and yelling at me for taking so long. So if it has bothered you, I apologize, and I don't plan to let something like that happen again. And time to go full forward. So, other things I have missed so far. One is, we're gonna go back, as you can see, we're back in Yarhagul in the Hypergean jail. There was a Wandering Nightmare down here that I want to kill because it drops 3 Twin Bloodstone shards, which we will be using for a weapon that we don't have yet. That's part of the progression I usually use. It makes it a little overpowered to do it that way, but we're here, and we're going to get those because those are easy. The other thing that I missed here in Yarhagul is this statue. And before I really talk about that, well, we've also got some weird fucking statues over here. Yeah, we got some weird fucking statues. And before I talk about them, I also want to note that while this is, we woke up when we first came here in the Hypergean jail, this looks eerily like a church. Vaulted ceilings, those big high windows. There's a chandelier up there. I wonder if I can get a good angle without going down there and aggroing those fuckers. Yeah, there we go. This is very reminiscent of a church. As I previously stated, I will be ignoring this lore note purposely for a while and talking about it later on. So, over here we have, in what is very clearly a church, these statues. And you might be thinking, well, Anthony, What in the hell are those? What in the hell is that thing? Why is there a statue of some Cthulhu-looking motherfucker in this church? To which, of course, my response would be, shh. All will become clear when I deem it necessary, child. But, yes, so, as you know, this is Yarhagul, the Unseen Village. So this is some weird, nefarious fucking place to begin with, and we've got these weird statues in what appears to be a church. So, of course, what you think is, these are intended to be statues of something that is being, something or some things, we have a couple different statues here, that is being worshipped, that are being worshipped as gods. Or this is what they view their god or gods to look like. Something to think about for a little while. So what we're going to do now is, my original plan when I was recording the previous episode way back when was to do a marathon recording and have stuff to upload while I was out of commission for those couple of weeks over the holidays. And the Elgato recording software fucked up when I was in the middle of reading an item description of Jorah's clothing. If you remember, we killed Jorah at the very end and his friend at the very end of the last episode. And I didn't realize that it had fucked up and frozen until I had finished reading those descriptions, gone to the Cathedral Ward lamp, and talked to Adela, the nun we find here. So I'm going to cut over to another character that I brought up to a point where we can talk to Adela. And there's also German dialogue that got fucked up that I'm going to get. And since I'm going to start that cut in the Hunter's Dream, I'll also read Jorah's items of his equipment and his clothing before cutting back to Cornelius, our player character here, to continue actually playing. So bear with me a moment. Alrighty, so now we're here. You probably noticed the bars at the top. This is a character on New Game Plus. I had recently played through the game and brought him up to the point where I can get dialogue from Gehrman and Adela after beating the Blood-Starved Beast and doing Yarhagul the first time. But first, we're going to go over here and read Jorah's clothing. Ignore those other clothings at the bottom. We haven't gotten those yet. They're there because I've played through a New Game Plus. Sorry. But yeah, so the Grey Wolf Cap and the Ashen Hunter gear belongs to Jorah. Grey Wolf Cap, attire of the retired hunter Jorah. This worn wolf cap was his trademark. Jorah is known through his contact with the Powder Kegs, the heretics of the workshop. He is said to have been both uncommonly kind and dreadfully foolish. Jorah felt defeated by the state of Old Yarnum and renounced his hunter's vows. And then the rest of the gear is the same, but it has painted with ash in a ceremony to ward off blood. So he covered, painted is an interesting word. I wonder if that's supposed to be literal, or maybe that was a bit of a literal translation from Japanese. I actually don't know. But painted, covered, what have you, somehow he put ash on his clothing to ward off blood. Now, it says in a ceremony, so it seems to me, especially considering that if you wear this gear, you still get covered in blood, like when you kill things, it seems almost like a superstition. And he's a retired hunter, so he's been doing it for a while. It might have been a superstition from, previous times. But he is known for his contact with the powder kegs. So it's not stated that Jorah is a powder keg. It says that he's known through his contact with. Now, he still could be a powder keg. But that does not. But at the same time, that he could just have known them, been taken in by them or something. It's hard to say. But he's somehow connected with them. And so it said here, actually, I don't know why I got rid of that. It said it is said that he was said to have been uncommonly kind and dreadfully foolish. And if you remember, he didn't want us to be fighting, killing the beasts of Old Yarnum. He wanted us to be sparing them. He was saying they were people, they weren't beasts. And to me, that's what it kind of means of him being dreadfully foolish, is him thinking that these beasts were still people. And it's very clear. It says he felt defeated by the state of Old Yharnam. He felt he was broken by what happened. It seems to be implied that he had a part in it, even, really, or maybe he stumbled upon it after having a part in it, or after doing whatever he was doing as a hunter. Maybe he stumbled upon it, similar to how we did. But it broke him. However he ended up seeing the state of Old Yharnam, it broke him. And that's what caused him to renounce his vows and want to protect these beasts. So, it's interesting. It's an interesting character. But I would have to agree on saying that he was dreadfully foolish in saying, yes, those beasts were once people, but they aren't anymore. And it's very clear by the fact that all they want to do is rip your face off. I don't know. But, so that's Jura's clothing. We'll go down here, because his weapon is now available to us. Geez, there's all kinds of crap you shouldn't be seeing here. Maybe that was a mistake to read the descriptions on this character. Just ignore all the things. Don't worry about it. Okay, the pictures are fine. That's not bad. So, this is Jura's weapon, the stake driver. As those of you familiar with steampunk and stuff like that, this is a pile bunker. A trick weapon fashioned by the workshop heretics, the powder kegs, favored by the retired hunter Jura. The stake driver, with its queerly complex design, violently drives thick stakes into the flesh of foes. The stake driver allows for high damage critical attacks, but is difficult to use and leaves its wielder widely open. But none of this should bother a mere powder keg. So, this is a goofy weapon. And so the thing about the weapons in Bloodborne, is I like a lot of them. Pretty much all of them, really, thinking about it. I love that they all have transforms and utilities, this and that. There are far fewer weapons in Bloodborne than there are in any of the other Souls games. Like in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2. Far fewer weapons. Now the difference is unlike Dark Souls and Demon Souls, and all that stuff. The difference here is that most, if not all, of the weapons in Bloodborne are viable. You can build around them and they're useful. Whereas in the other Souls games, there are weapons that exist just for novelty. There are weapons that exist that are just pieces of shit. There's not a lot of that in Bloodborne. If I had to pick a weapon that was for novelty's sake, a weapon that, maybe not that it's not a viable weapon, but that it's a pain in the balls to try and use, it would be the stake driver. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun. I've messed around with it a little bit, but man, the range is so short. So you have to be face-fucking anything you fight wearing this weapon. And because of how it works, and when I have the echoes on our actual playthrough character, I'll pick it up to show off the weapon, because I'll need to grind up for a specific weapon pretty soon anyway. It has this big explodey attack where its transform is charging up like a spear shot, and it's fucking this huge thing, and it's really cool. But if you miss with that, you're going to get killed. So if I'm going to pick a weapon in this game, and it's not even that I dislike this weapon, but if I'm going to pick a weapon that exists for novelty's sake, and that isn't really that viable, it's the stake driver. But still, it's cool. It's amusing. Let's get out of there before you start seeing more things you can't see yet. I didn't even think about that. I only want to read the descriptions with this character for ease sake. But now we're going to get Gehrman's dialogue after we finish Old Yharnam. So, what do you got for us, Gehrman?
The healing church and the blood ministers who belong to it were once guardians of the hunters in the times of the hunter Ludwig. They worked and forged weapons in their unique workshop. Today, most ministers don't recall the hunters, but they have much to offer you. And so, heed the message of your forebears. Ascend to Erdon Chapel. Ascend to Erdon Chapel. From there, you will find the church workshop.
Okay, so after you defeat the Bloodstar Beast, after you go through Old Yarnum and you get that chalice, Gehrman tells us to ascend to Odin Chapel. If you remember, Odin Chapel is the location we go to if we teleport to the Cathedral Ward lamp, and is our access to the Cathedral Ward and how we got to Old Yarnum, really. But he tells us to ascend Odin Chapel to find the Healing Church Hunter workshop. And you notice that there's a clear distinction there. He talks about their workshop, the Healing Church workshop. And so again, like I said, there's a difference between church hunters and the regular hunters because Gehrman does not say our workshop, the workshop. He speaks of a separate thing. And he tells us to ascend to Odin Chapel to discover something there. So, and again, as I told you, the Elgato recording program decided to screw the pooch. So that's why we talked to him with this character, because I had already gotten that dialogue unknowingly with my other character. So there's that. I don't remember if the doll gets new dialogue here. I think she has a new thing she says when you talk to her now.
What is it? Over
Yes.
time,
No.
countless hunt the graves
She totally
before.
gave us that already. Okay. However, that does give us an opportunity, something else I forgot to share, and it has nothing to do with lore really, but if you gesture at the doll, she'll return a gesture. So she'll bow in greeting. Let's find one that she doesn't quite understand. She'll give us a head shake. Yep, she tilts her head. Or one of my favorites. Now we don't have this gesture for a while, but I have it now, so I'm going to do it. Oh. She didn't clap for that one. I guess she claps for something different. I know she claps for one. Let's see if I can find one. Okay. Well, maybe I'll find one later. I know one that she definitely claps for, but I don't want to do it yet. But, okay, so we're going to fade over to the Cathedral Ward so we can get the dialogue with Adela the Nun. And there's also one other thing I want to show you there. So, I will cut back in with this character in a second. I'm going to cut out the loading screen. Okay, so this time, getting Adela's dialogue without Elgato being a piece of shit. We'll, go over here. You see Adela has moved, and she sits over here in the corner.
Oh, brave hunter, you're alive. Thank you very much.
She'll give us the church bow gesture.
The town is in disarray, but there are still people here. Together we await the help of the Healing Church. I cannot begin to express my gratitude to you. The only thing that I can offer is my own lowly blood, if it would suffice.
So, she talks about, you know, as everyone else, the town is in disarray. Everything is terrible. Look how bad it is tonight. And she talks about how the only thing she can offer us is our blood. Now, if you remember, Yosefka, at the very beginning of the game, gave us a vial of her blood. So it's some kind of weird common thing, sort of. No, pretty much. So we're going to We're going to receive a blood treatment from her. Oh crap! Give me 1 second to make a cut. I've already got something in my inventory from it that you can't know about yet, probably. Excuse me. Okay, no, it was actually her blood vial from the previous game cycle.
Have you
Yeah, now we'll get the blood.
Coming close now.
Okay. So we got the blood of Adela. Blood taken from Adela, nun of the Healing Church, restores an amount of HP, then continues to gradually restore HP for a short time. The Healing Church nuns are chosen for their merit as vessels for blood, and groomed as blood saints. The mere chance of being treated with their blood lends legitimacy to the Healing Church and communion. So, the implication of that, first of all, as far as mechanically goes, yeah, it heals HP and then gives you a gradual regeneration for a set amount of time. But the whole thing is, this nun here of the Healing Church, Adela, this is what she was, I guess bred for is really the word for it, is to be a blood saint for the church, to give blood treatments like this. So you can probably imagine that that involves some kind of specific blood treatments to her growing up, and whatever. Does the Healing Church have nun convents? I don't know. That's never made clear. Some dude's fucking going nuts. Okay. But it's what she was really for, is to give us blood treatments. And it talks about how the mere chance of receiving this lends legitimacy to the church and their communion of having this blood. So, that's interesting. There's more to talk about with her in a little while, and a couple things to go on, and you'll find soon, we have a couple more NPCs to move here, but the unfortunate thing is a lot of the NPCs in this game, their quests live and die here. Like, we'll find them and bring them back here, and that's where they'll stay. And they won't really do much. They don't have as much agency as like Dark Souls 1, for instance, which I perfectly am willing to admit, the NPCs that you interact with, not so much characters that are integral to the story, but these NPCs, like these kinds of characters, they're much weaker in Bloodborne than the other games, especially compared to Dark Souls 1. They're just not as well written. Most of them aren't. There's a couple that are interesting, but most of them aren't as interesting. And a few of the quest lines progressively move more throughout the game. But there's a group of NPCs you bring here to this safe place, and that's it. The end of their quest is here for the most part. It's just, there's not as much agency there. It's definitely a drawback. It is a negative in Bloodborne's against Bloodborne for that. But you know, it's finding a perfect game. If we found a perfect game, I would stop playing other video games. So, I guess there's that. So, before we cut back to our actual character and start moving through the game again, halfway through the episode, there is one more thing I want to come out here and show off that I didn't before. And I kind of forgot to, and I also did this purposely with 0 insight because there's a certain threshold where it looks different and it loses the point. So, we're going to do this now. If you remember, this is where we had that weird thing. And here it is. And you're like, but Anthony, what in the fuck? And you notice that also we were inflicted with the frenzy status. Upon seeing that. Upon that occurring to us. Which I think I brought up before. You know, frenzy is what it sounds like. You're going fucking nuts. Also, we did get an insight from that. But, so, there's something there or hereabouts there. It's something that we can't see. Or something along those lines. Some food for thought for those of you who don't know really what's going on, or maybe just haven't seen it. So we're going to cut back now to the character we're supposed to be playing through so we can progress. Alrighty, and we're back again for reals. So before we go to the Cathedral Ward and start working through that stuff there, we do have some Madman's Knowledge that I want to pop. And we have some blood from Yarhal that I want to pop. I don't even know if we're going to get a level out of this. I don't remember how much we need. It's been a while since I've really played on this character.
Very well,
No, not even at all. Oh well. Pick up some vials or bullets with that. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But yeah, as you see, I had to get Gerben's dialogue on the other character because now he's gone and just left us a nice little note. What do my weapons look like? Might as well check all this while I'm sitting here. Okay, that hasn't changed much. Sometimes you find Gehrman sleeping out here. I was hoping maybe we'd find that. Okie dokie. Drop some echoes on... What do we got here? Some bullets. Alright, now to the Cathedral Ward. Away to cut the loading screens. Okay. So here we are. I do have Adela's blood, that's what I thought. Okay. So here we are in the Cathedral Ward after finishing up Old Yarnum. First and foremost, you'll notice this door, which was previously closed, is now open. So, there are 3 bosses, I believe, that this door opens after you defeat them. There's the Bloodstarved Beast, which we did defeat. There's the next boss we will fight. I believe that one also opens this door if you have not fought the Bloodstarved Beast, because it is an optional fight. And there's I'm pretty sure the boss after the next boss that we will fight also has the effect. But because you can do them out of order. But we fought the Bloodstarved Beast for a good reason. Now, before we go through there, I'm going to go the other way, basically to illustrate why we did it this way. And now we can talk about these enemies. Sup, fucker? So these are the church doctors. And you can see that they wear those like big overcoats, and they've got these lanterns. They're larger than a regular human, and they're really pale. The implication of these guys, as we'll find when we start reading some item descriptions related to the church soon, since we are in the church town, is his friend didn't drop anything. Is that these are the result of blood experiments within the healing church. And for further blood experiments, we have a church giant. Now these guys hit hard, have a lot of health. So you've got to watch yourself when you come here in these earlier levels. They're, as you can see, they're much quicker than you would probably give an enemy this size credit for. So, murder him. But yeah, so again, they look very similar to the church doctors that we just saw, but they're bigger. They're much taller. They're all like weird and lanky and whatnot. And they have these huge fucking weapons. Again, this is implied to be experiments with the healing church and blood. So we come up over here, and you can see these religious statues everywhere because this is the church's town. This is their place. Also, you continue to see those wheelchairs, but like carriage and stuff. You'll notice as we continue through the game, there's going to start being a lot of birth scenes. But so you get up here to this gate to the town. Only a special emblem opens the main gate. So that refers to the Hunter Chief emblem that you can purchase for 10,000 echoes after you defeat the Cleric Beast. If we would have bought that, we could open this gate from this side. Now, I didn't buy it. And that's because you don't have to. You see, we defeated the Bloodstarved Beast. So that other door in the Odin Chapel opened, and that leads to a way. One of the ways you can go through that door leads to coming to the other side of this gate, and you can open the gate from the other side. So you don't need to spend the echoes to get that item. But there's also multiple ways, obviously, to do this. You could have just killed the Cleric Beast, got the emblem, and, go ham. So I wanted to illustrate that that's what we're trying to get around with what we'll be doing soon. And before we go through that door that's open, we're going to go down here, just because of the fact that this is a dead end. But there's some goodies to get and some stuff to illustrate. So we've got a brick troll fucker over there, and we've got one over here holding a statue. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Nope. Oh, not keeping up in your animation. That's interesting. Whatever. Still have a plus 300 back, so it doesn't matter to me. I guess I'm still a little rusty. I haven't been playing as much recently. I picked it up a couple times during the week this week, because I planned to stop being an asshole and start recording this again. So I shook off a good amount of the rust playing a couple days ago. But as you can see, that bird pecking my shit, still a little bit there. I'm surprised that I didn't get fucked up by that church giant, but give it time. We'll botch. It happens. Over here, we have the monocular. Which, as cool as it is, super silly. Just, it can't just be a fucking telescope. But, so, now we have the ability to look closely at environments and things. So if you see right there, that is the bridge where we fight the Cleric Beast. And obviously, some of the junk on the bridge is missing because of draw distance rendering, and they didn't want to render all that crap out there, but that's okay. I forget, I think I think actually that might just be Old Yarnum down there. I always try and find a good spot to see Old Yarnum. Yeah, there's the bridge that leads to Gascoigne, by the way. I always try and find a good spot to see Old Yarnum from above, and it's really difficult, partly because of the mist, and partly because it's a little odd and difficult to really pinpoint its location. Not that it's any kind of impossible geometry like fucking Dark Souls 2 with its world geography, but you know, it's a little much, but it's okay. Again, most of the time we can take that monocular and look at places that we're going to be going or have already gone. So over here, got a birdie, dead birdie, some bloodstone shards. As you can see, we've been picking up a bunch of those. They want you to have at least a +3 weapon by this point, because you're going to start getting the upgrade materials for +4 to 6 weapons. So we're going to sneak up on this sleeping church giant. You can see that there goes a wandering madness nightmare or what have you that I'm going to have to fucking reload the game to kill. Yeah, so you see this fucking asshole, and you see his fucking weapon. This dude is a fucking prick. If you are not careful, that thing will fuck your shit up quick. And like running away with the other guys barely helps because of all of the range on that wrecking ball thing. Some bloodstone shards. See, you just picked up more fucking bloodstone shards. Alright, I'm gonna reload so I can kill that wandering nightmare. I always forget if it's wandering nightmare or wandering madness or both or something. Souls games enemies. Alright, I'm gonna reload real quick so I can kill him and get the upgrade materials. Come here, you little bastard. Yeah. Hey. Again, drops a shitload of bloodstone shards. So, if we go over here... Oh, also... again, there's the bridge where you fight the cleric beast. Right there. But if we go through in here... Again, I told you, this area ends in a dead end. There's just some junk to pick up here. There's nothing too crazy. There's nothing in any of these pots. I'm not rolling through all of them. There is nothing there. We have a chest back here. I think there's a bloodstone gem in here. A blood gem, I mean. Yeah, blood gemstone. So this door is closed. Now, if you remember, in the Cleric Beast boss room on that bridge, there's that door to the side that doesn't even give you an open prompt. This is that door. This is that door. Way back when, before the expansion came out, people were like, oh, that's the door that leads to the DLC. No, it doesn't. It very clearly connects to the bridge where you fight the Cleric Beast. It is a door to the Cathedral Ward. It is insanely clear by looking at it. And for further proof that I don't want to do, because I don't feel like doing it, but I saw it in Vati, from his YouTube channel, Vati Video. In one of his Bloodborne videos, he shows you can drop one of, where are they at? These shining coins, the little prism stone, pathfinding things of this game. You can drop one so it sits basically inside of that door texture. And if we ran all the way back to that bridge without loading the game world, we would see that's light. This door leads to the Cathedral Ward to dispel any beliefs that people still have that it is something else or weird. Oh, we can also just... That's not great. That eclipse like that. Don't worry about that. But, so that's where that door leads. There's nothing else in this area. So now we're going to go through that open door. And that's what will allow us to ascend to Odin Chapel, as Gehrman put it. It will allow us to go to the Healing Church Workshop. So we're going to run back to... Whoa, that guy ate shit. Do-do-do-do-do. Doodle-doo. Ugh, aesthetics. It's been a while since I really played Bloodborne and looked at all the stuff in Bloodborne. It's so awesome. Anyway, so now we'll run through here and go through this door. And in here we find an elevator that we're not even going to take to the top the first time because there's a hidden place over here. So, detour. You'd be surprised, well, maybe not anymore because the game's been out for getting close to a year now, but you'd be surprised for the longest time how many people didn't see that in that elevator. So, in this chest, we find Formless Odin. Now, if you remember, we're in Odin Chapel. So let's read that. That is a Carol rune. A secret symbol left by Carol, runesmith of Bergenworth. The Great One Odin, lacking form, exists only in voice, and is symbolized by this rune. Those who memorize it enjoy a larger supply of Quicksilver bullets. Human or no, the oozing blood is a medium of the highest grade, and the essence of the formless Great One, Odin. Both Odin and his inadvertent worshippers surreptitiously seek the precious blood. So, a lot coming off of this. First and foremost, we can't even use this item right now because we don't have the proper workshop tool to memorize this rune. But it talks about Odin. Again, we are in Odin Chapel. It talks about the Great One Odin. There's this mention of the Great Ones again. And speaks about this rune symbolizing him. And, I mean, mechanically it gives you the ability to carry more Quicksilver bullets. All runes have 3 levels. This is the 3rd level of Formless Odin, actually. It grants you the highest effect of it. But, more importantly, it talks about, again, with blood as a medium of the highest grade, and the essence of the formless Great One. And he talks about Odin, this Great One, being formless. You know, he doesn't, you know, going off of this thing, what if he has no physical form, is what this is implying. And what is the mythology at this point? I mean, all we've doing is been finding stuff talking about this Great One, that Great One, and seeing these weird statues. The mythology of this religion is that Odin has no form. He is only a voice. So, and there's a lot more we can talk about with that and some of the stuff in there, but we can't do anything with the rune right now. We're going to leave that as is. And over here, Messenger, Urn Festival. Just another thing for your messengers. Whee! Boom. Okay. So, this time we'll actually go to the top of the elevator. Bum bum bum. And away we go. Yes, so we are now ascending Odin Chapel. And what do we find at the top? A bastard with a Gatling gun, that's what. And some other junk. Like in here. Communion. This is another room. A secret symbol left by Carol, runesmith of Bergenworth. Several runes relate to blood, including communion, which raises the maximum number of blood vials one may carry. This rune represents the healing church and its ministers. Blood ministration is, of course, the pursuit of communion. So, first of all, I forgot to mention when we read the other room, these are left by a man named Carol, who's a runesmith. He makes these of Bergenworth. There's Bergenworth again, that college that we got some information about from Alfred. And this talks about, it relates to blood and communion, and, you know, mechanically this lets you carry more vials, but it talks about this rune representing the healing church and the ministers that belong to it. And how blood ministration is the pursuit of communion. This blood ministration is their pursuit to communicate with their gods. So, give us some more look into the church. Out here, we're going to run across this bridge, because there's dudes on the 2nd level shooting at us. And we've reached the Healing Church workshop. There's fuckers everywhere. Of course there are. Ugh. Yeah, I hear you up there. Come on, buddy. Actually, there's like 4 of them in here. Let's just... Ow. Ow. Don't appreciate your tone, sir. Surprised I didn't aggro those guys. That's interesting. Come on. That's why the axe is cool. You can just smash that those assholes with the shield. Alright. Poke. Ah! Gotta watch that guy behind me with the gun. As you can see, he's still trying to shoot me. Ow. That time he succeeded. Fuck you. I've had enough of your shit, bud. Alright. Now that clusterfuck's been taken care of. Yeah, so this is the Healing Church workshop that we have found. I got a blood-tinged gemstone in here. So yeah, as you can see all the weapons, very similar to how in the Hunter's Dream, there's weapons hanging. Also more coffins in here. Actually, while we're in here staring at the coffins, what I said previously, part of what I was so busy at one point over the holidays is the girlfriend was in town, and she wanted to see Bloodborne in its entirety, so I played through it for her. And she asked a question I didn't even think to address previously in the video. She said, why are there chained up coffins all over the place? And as you can see, there's chained up coffins right here. And you've seen what the Beast Plague has done to stuff, and it's very obviously an implication of they don't want the dead coming back out of their coffins because of the plague. Or maybe there are plague victims that haven't been burned in there. It's an insurance policy of chained up coffins. So we move up here. Go! Ow, ow. Jeez. Oh wow, I am starting to play like garbage. That's not great. We're 50 minutes in, we're getting close to a point where I can cut off after we get to an important thing related to this area. I don't want to start playing like shit. Fuck you. Excuse me. But yeah, so this is the Healing Church Workshop. This is what Gehrman told us to do. And again, there's fucking weapons everywhere. It's very clear that the Church Hunters became a very extensive group of people. There's a lot of them. That one dude might still be alive. Oh, no, looks like he's dead. And then Thick Cold Blood. Yeah, it's very obvious that the Church Hunters became a very large group of individuals. I don't think there's anything else on this level. I think we can just climb up. Yep, okay, we can. Their workshop is gigantic. There's all kinds of weapons and stuff. Again, where are they now? Well, obviously everything in Old Yarn is fucked. So, doesn't really help much. Let's see. Over here, there's a lore note. The sky and the cosmos are one. Quote, the choir. So, now there's another group of people that we've just been introduced to that we know literally nothing about, known as the choir. And I mean, obviously, church choirs and this and that, but so you can kind of assume they're related to the church, but we don't know anything about them. And we won't for a long time. Some more blood. Ooh, while we're up here, we got a view. Over here is a place we'll be going to. This is part of the cathedral ward, nice big plaza. This is actually behind that locked gate. We can't get through without the chief end unless we come in from behind. Do we have a good view? Okay, and right there is the Grand Cathedral. That is our objective for the cathedral ward, is to go there. Because that's where, that's the home of the Healing Church. So, Miyazaki level design, Miyazaki world design. It's awesome. Ooh, look at that sunset. That is pretty. Yeah, if you haven't been able to tell, this is currently dusk. And then it's very hazy and hard to see, but we're actually going to be going down there pretty soon. You can see this from here. We're going to end up going down there, and that's probably where the episode's going to end, with important stuff down there. But first, oops, I passed the door, because I was too busy looking at stuff. Got distracted by pretty sights. In here, these are the flamethrowers, by the way. Also, these are the only wheelchair dudes that have, the wheelchair guys with the firearms. These are the only ones in the game that move. None of the other ones in the game move. Yeah, so they have flamethrowers, and it wasn't a fun time. Pick some stuff up. In this chest here, we have the Radiant Sword Hunter badge. Nope. One of the badges crafted by the Healing Church. The Radiant Sword indicates the heirs to the will of Ludwig. These hunters, also known as Holy Blades, are what remains of an ancient line of heroes that date back to a very early age of honor and chivalry. So, Ludwig was mentioned when we got the regular Sword Hunter badge, who was the first Healing Church Hunter. And this badge belonged to those who were known as the Holy Blades. Ludwig's, his entourage, and, after Ludwig was dead, gone, what have you, his successors as the Holy Blades, the Radiant Swords of the Healing Church Hunters. This unlocks a couple weapons that we'll read descriptions for next time we're in the Hunter's Dream. which might not be for a while, but it unlocks some weapons, including the weapon we're going to get next. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Speaking of busy and being sick, I was sick earlier this week. I'm kind of just getting over that. So here we find a door. There is nothing in any of these pots. I'm not rolling through them. Door is locked. We cannot get through this door. We will not get through this door for a long time. This leads to the upper level of the Cathedral Ward. So, that's all there is to the Healing Church Workshop. Kind of. There's stuff to explore down below, including eventually the way to get into the Cathedral Ward without the Hunter Chief emblem. Be careful sliding that ladder. More than once I've slid down and come off and accidentally backstepped off the fucking ledge and died. Wasn't great. So, now we gotta go back down. And we'll... Again, we're not gonna end up going through the Cathedral Ward today. We're getting close to an hour. And as always, I want to try and keep it around there. We're going to already end up going a little bit over. But there is a place that we want to get to that is secret. Quote-unquote secret. Secret in game terms. Not so secret anymore in literal terms of people playing this game. Don't you fall off the edge now, you fucking bastard. Get some twin bloodstone shards. So down in this lower level in the workshop tower, we have... That was weird. I got caught on that door for a second. We have this mess of business. So we can drop all the way to the bottom. We can do that. That's how we can get... That eventually will lead us to the back way of the Cathedral Ward. There's also something down here. I hope I don't botch this drop. Because sometimes I do it perfectly and sometimes I botch really bad. Okay, cool. We're good. You have to do that at that kind of specific point. If you try and do it at most other areas, you will miss this or bounce off it and die. And then you come down here, because this is too far to hit. This is where we were going, but that is too far to hit from that drop. We have this door hidden down here, hidden in what was probably at one point a sprawling way to travel around up in this tower and down below and to what's in here. So, what's hiding back here, you ask? Huh. Interesting, I would say, how familiar this place looks. You'll notice that the area name that came up was the Abandoned Old Workshop. And if you'll probably immediately see, this looks exactly like the Hunter's Dream. Or, rather... The Hunter's Dream looks exactly like this place. And there's a bunch of stuff sitting around that we have to look at now and pick up. Over here in this chest, notice this chest is completely different than other chests that we find in the game, implying that this chest is much older. We pick up the doll set. Doll hat. A discarded doll's hat, likely a spare for dress-up. A deep love for the doll can be surmised by the fine craftsmanship of this article and the care with which it was kept. It borderlines on mania and exudes a slight warmth. All that's the same. So, it implies that this was made for... You notice it looks exactly like the doll's clothes. It's implied that this was made for the doll, as like a spare set of clothing. And that there was a deep love for the doll because of the craftsmanship, the work that went into this. We're going to talk about more about that in a minute as we explore this area. But, so, this is the doll set. The numbers don't matter too much in this game, but it's not very good. But, you know, it's neat. It's a fun little thing. And, if anyone has the question, yes, you can wear the doll set if you're a dude. This isn't Demon Souls where there's gender-specific clothing. We could walk around dressed up as the doll. I don't want to, because it just doesn't look as good on male characters. Also, the numbers are garbage, but it's funny. So, and of course, as you can see, the tombstones are not here. Like, all of those grave sites that the doll talks about. And there's not that gate with grave sites over there, because of the Hunter's Dream being a place that hunters like us have started going to. If we go into the workshop, you'll see, again, it's dingy, it's a little different, but it's very, very similar. If not, well, to be completely fair, it's exactly the same. We'll light this lamp, why not? Boop. So, in here, small hair ornament. A small, very ordinary hair ornament. Although it has been lost for quite some time, one can still see signs of the care with which this tasteful ornament was once kept. Its color would stand out most brilliantly against a head of grayish hair. So, who has gray hair that we know? The doll. Now, does this imply this is the doll's ornament? No. It implies that it belongs to someone else. But we can give it to the doll, and we will. We will pick up that item last. That item has a lot to talk about. If you'll see in the corner here, you know what? You saw what it is. I'll address it in a minute. There is one gravestone that is present in this workshop. That is also present in the Hunter's Dream. And in here, we find the old hunter bone. Where's that at? I probably missed that already. There it is. It's an arcane item. We can't use it without 15 arcane, so I'll have to show it off with a different character later. The bone of an old hunter whose name is lost. It is said that he was an apprentice to old Gehrman, and a practitioner of the art of quickening, a technique particular to the first hunters. It is most appropriate that hunters, carriers of the torch who are sustained by the dream, would tease an old art from his remains. So, this is the bone belonging to a hunter, obviously. A hunter that was an apprentice to Gehrman. So the first and immediate implication, given that we find this in Yharnam, not in the dream, is that Gehrman is not an entity who's only ever existed in the dream. Gehrman not only was once a hunter, but this, as the implication is, was Gehrman's workshop. This is where the first hunters originally started. And this is the bone belonging to his apprentice. And the art of quickening changes your quick steps, makes it you move with I think if I remember mechanically you move with more iframes when you do it. But it has like your model disappears, like the Dragon Ball Z effect of you're moving so quickly on those short jaunts that you're invisible, quote unquote, kind of for a second. I'll have to show it off with another character that can use it. Maybe I'll fade over to the screen or whatever and give it a quick whoosh, 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 or what have you. But, so, this was an apprentice to Gehrman, one of the older first hunters. This was Gehrman's workshop. And we'll talk about what that means with regards to the Hunter's Dream, with seeing this and picking up that item. Over here, an abandoned doll. Now, as you can see, this doll looks exactly like the doll in the dream. This doll is exactly the same. The clothing, all of it. Oops, that's not how we get rid of that. And over here, we have 1/3 of umbilical cord. Let's read that. A great relic, also known as the cord of the eye. Every infant Great One has this precursor to the umbilical cord. Every Great One loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Used to gain insight, and so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. So, we've picked up runes and Madman's knowledge and all that junk. This is a physical thing somehow related to the Great Ones that we've been reading about in descriptions. We still know nothing about them, but this is a physical object that we have picked up in Yharnam. It talks about these beings that lose their child and yearn for surrogates. But the most important part about this particular item description here, at least in my opinion, is it precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. This item is somehow related to the hunter's dream and its creation. More importantly, that combined with what we found here and seen here it implies that Gehrman was somehow integral to the creation of the Hunter's Dream. That place that we go to was molded around this place's image. It's not that the abandoned old workshop looks like the Hunter's Dream. It's that the Hunter's Dream is an exact duplicate of the abandoned old workshop, complete with the doll. Now, the doll clothes we found talk about them being a spare set. This doll is wearing the other set. So it's not that the doll in the dream is from Yharnam. That doll is in the dream, as well as the rest of the workshop, because of Gehrman. So that brings us a little bit more about Gehrman. We learn a bit more about his character. And again, between talking of the Great Ones in that description and seeing this, and we appropriately received insight upon walking into this zone, we are being showed that there is a lot more happening than we can see. It's that theme of the unknown knowledge, the unseen, the things that are right there in front of us that we can't see yet. So, we have a lot to think about with that, a lot to talk about at a later time when things become more clear and we start gaining more evidence. But right now, what you need to take away is, for one reason or another, this workshop became abandoned, fell into disrepair. You can kind of assume that it had something to do with the hunters of the church and the church hunting workshop, which we'll also find when we read some descriptions of the stuff that we can unlock with Ludwig's badge. Actually, I think we're going to the dream and we'll end on reading that stuff. But, so you take away from that, and also something, actually, sorry, I'll stop talking, I'm going to cut this loading screen, I shouldn't keep talking here. So again, here we are, at the Hunter's Dream. The workshop not in disarray. Also, something to keep in mind, you see we have 16 insight now. We will see something involved with that when we start playing. Again, I'm going to do some stuff here, but I think we're going to call this episode pretty soon because we're already over an hour. But an insight threshold for certain things in this game is 15 insight. We've got 16 now, so be prepared for some stuff. But stuff we're going to do here, we're going to talk to the doll and give her the small hair ornament.
What is this? I can't remember. Not a thing, only I feel a yearning, something I never felt before. What's happening to me? Tell me, Hunter, could this be joy?
So we give her the hair ornament, and it sparks something, some kind of connection, some kind of yearning, she puts it. And you see her wipe her eye like she's crying, and we get a tear stone. Silver shining tear stone, used to change into a droplet blood gem. A doll sheds neither blood nor tears, and thus its nature remains unknown. Whoever thinks this is precious must be troubled by severe naivety. So, it's saying that dolls don't shed tears or blood. So, as I said, this is not the doll that we find in the workshop. This is something a little different. And we'll talk more, honestly, kind of more towards the end of the game. But we can use this tear stone to get the tear blood gem. Oops, click that death animation. Oh well. Blood gem, blah, 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 droplet, blah, blah, blah. Created from a shining silver doll tear. This blood gem is a quiet but unfaltering friend that continually restores HP, the life essence of a hunter. Perhaps the doll's creator had wished for just such a friend, albeit in vain. So, it just restores HP. It's not a very good gem. I'm never going to put it in a weapon, but it's neat. But what's the thing to see here is, perhaps the doll's creator had wished for just such a friend, albeit in vain. So, again, the implication upon finding the workshop and all that is that Gehrman made the doll. So it seems that at some point in his life, Gehrman found himself very lonely, having a longing for a companion, and he made that doll. And again, we still don't know a lot about the Hunter's Dream. There's a lot we can't talk about. Well, sorry, that I can't talk about right now because we haven't gotten to that point. But it seems that this dream was somehow created around Gehrman, because this is where Gehrman is now. Gehrman's not in Yharnam. And perhaps that's why there's a version of the doll in this dream that was somehow dragged forth. Something to think about. Actually, while we're standing here, have some blood echoes. We have enough for... We're going to pop in a level real quick. And probably buy some junk with the leftovers.
Welcome. What is... Very well.
Pop that up.
Farewell, good mate.
We'll repair... let's check the blood gems we picked up. They're still all not useful. Okay. Though we do have the better blood tinge one for the pistol. I don't think Gehrman's... Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, so Gehrman's over here sleeping.
Oh, Lawrence, what's taking you so long? I've grown too old for this. Of little use now, I'm afraid.
Okay, so it's interesting we picked up that dialogue here. Because I've never actually gotten it this early in the game. I guess I just never got lucky enough with him over here when I had the insight this early. Because you need 15 insight. I was actually under the impression you still needed to defeat the next boss we're going to fight to get that dialogue. Because until a certain point, he's only snoring. But that's okay. So, kind of further pushing here with Gehrman being connected to this place, he talks about Lawrence, which is a character in the story we haven't actually really seen much about yet. We will soon. So we'll have to come back to him talking about Lawrence. But he says, what's taking you so long? And he's talking about how old he's grown. It's very clear that there's a lot more going on here. And he's been waiting for something. And he's starting to grow a little used. You see him in the wheelchair. It seems to start implying that he's here as our helper, but it doesn't seem like there's more to him being in this dream. And we can get more dialogue from him later when he's sleeping, after we do have to defeat a specific boss for that dialogue. And it'll shed more light on it. There's not a lot we can gain from that dialogue, except for a connection we can't draw until we learn about Lawrence. So, sorry about that, you'll have to wait a little bit. But, so we'll come in here, so Ludwig's Holy Blade unlocks when we get the Radiant Sword Hunter badge, and Ludwig's, rifle. I think that also unlocks the Flame Spray. I forget when it unlocks that. But, Ludwig's Holy Blade. A trick weapon typically used by healing church hunters. It is said that the silver sword was employed by Ludwig, the first hunter of the church. When transformed, it combines with its sheath to form a great sword. The healing church workshop began with Ludwig and departed from old Gehrman's techniques to provide hunters with the means to hunt more terrifying beasts, and perhaps things still worse. So, this really talks about the split between the church and the hunters. So it implies that there was a time where the Gehrman's hunters, the hunters of old, worked in conjunction with the healing church. I talked about with Old Yharnam how it seemed like they were involved in the burning of Old Yharnam with helping the healing church. And it seems to be that there was a time that the church hunters were the covert operations of controlling the beast plague, but then it got out of hand with Old Yharnam, and that's when the church started taking things more into its own hands, starting with Ludwig becoming a hunter for the church, departing from Gehrman's techniques to make weapons like this. So again, it forms into a great sword. It's a different kind of weapon than most of what we've seen, minus like the Kirk hammer. And it talks about providing hunters with the means to hunt more terrifying beasts, referring, I guess, to the cleric beasts and the bigger things, and perhaps things still worse. And you think, well, what does that mean in conjunction with worse than more terrifying beasts? We will soon see. Not soon, it'll be a while. This is the weapon that we're going to be buying next. This is the weapon that I'm going to end up using for a large portion of this game, partly because of getting roped into upgrade paths at times, but also because of its scaling. it's hard for me to say whether or not this is my favorite weapon in the game, because I like pretty much all the weapons for their own reasons, and I've used a lot of them, and I think they're all really fun. I've used this weapon more than most of them. Probably actually more than all of them. This is the weapon I beat the game the first time with. This is the weapon I use a lot. This weapon is really good. Arguably the best weapon in this game. Some of the DLC weapons, one in particular, kind of gives it a run for its money. This weapon is good. This weapon is good scaling. You see right now it scales D with Strength, Skill, and Arcane. At plus 10, I believe it scales B with Strength and Skill and A with Arcane. So, while we're not putting any points in the Arcane on this build, our damage stats are Strength and Skill. This weapon hits fucking hard when you upgrade it and use it with a build like this. It's a good weapon. It's got an amazing moveset, and it's what I'm ultimately going to end up using. I'm going to use the Threaded Cane to go through most of the Cathedral Ward to show it off, really. And before we fight the boss, I'm going to buy this and upgrade it to plus 4. Or we might actually the Twin Shards upgrade to plus 5. We might. This weapon's great. I can't wait to use it. I really like it. I think it's really fucking cool. Its movesets are fantastic for both transform states. We also unlocked Ludwig's rifle. A rifle typically used by Healing Church hunters. It is said that this rifle was employed by Ludwig, the first hunter of the church. Its long, heavy barrel makes up in range for what it lacks in reload speed. Ludwig's rifle exhibits several departures from the workshop's design, suggesting that the church anticipated much larger, inhuman beasts. So again, the whole idea of being designed for larger, more terrifying beasts than the original hunter weapons and firearms designed. It's a pretty good rifle. It's okay. It's like most of the firearms, they're all mostly fine. Even for a blood-tinged build, this isn't that great compared to stuff like the repeating pistol and other stuff we get, but it's cool, it's fine. We also, I think that badge unlocked this. Tomb Prospector? I believe so. Attire of tomb prospectors who explore the old labyrinth on behalf of the Healing Church. The Healing Church traces its roots to Bergenworth, and is therefore aware of the ruins' true importance. They contain much more than mere hunter trinkets. Indeed, they hide the very secrets of the old Great Ones, sought after by those with the insight to imagine greatness. And that's all the same. So, the Tomb Prospectors are a branch of the Healing Church. But here's a very important connection that this makes for us. The Healing Church began at Bergenworth. So, that helps further cement why we want to ask Alfred about that and eventually maybe look into it, looking for Pale Blood, as our quest currently is. The church began with Bergenworth. We're seeing how all of these things, all these threads, the Chalice Dungeon, the Labyrinth that was explored, the Healing Church, it all finds its way back to Bergenworth. These secrets, this blood, the stuff with its blood, it all goes back to this place, this college, that is in a place now deemed forbidden by the church. Again, guarding secrets. And it says that the Labyrinth, these Chalice Dungeons, they contain much more than mere hunter trinkets. They contain secrets of the old Great Ones. Here we are with these Great Ones again. And greatness being imagined by those with insight. So we're making these connections here. It's a lot to think about. We're seeing everything starting to really come together, and this common thread is Bergenworth. So, oops, I didn't even buy whatever I wanted to there. Buy some files. So, things are starting to come. We're starting to make connections with Bergenworth. And Gehrman has connections to a man named Lawrence, which we don't have a lot for at the moment, but we will soon. And we're seeing that whatever this place truly is, whatever this hunter's dream really is, it has its roots, its shape from a real place in Yharnam. So we're at about an hour 20 here. I think I'm going to cut this episode here. I think we're going to stop here, and next time we're going to start moving through the Cathedral Ward. So until then, farewell.